जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन, यमुना तीर वनचारी, यमुना तीर वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, विजन वल्लभ गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन जनरंजन, यशोदानंदन जनरंजन, यमुना तीर वनचारी, यमुना तीर वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन यशोदानंदन जनरंजन, यमुना तीर वनचारी, यमुना तीर वनचारी, Hare
की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, समावेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 6 and text number 44 and 45. This is about the continuous description of a fallen yogi that one, because of immaturity, he might have deviated on the path of the transcendental practice. So in the beginning, there are possibilities because as Arjun was expressing, that yogat yatamānas and his destination could be imagined like a raven cloud. Means a cloud appears in the sky, and by the the sunlight falling on the reservoir of water, it evaporates the water and then it cools up in the sky as a cloud. And this cloud is also moving by the rays of the sun. So a cloud doesn't have a position. A cloud doesn't have a steady position. A position is the nature of the jiva. Jiva Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. Krishna Tatastha Shakti Bhed Abheda Prakash. So the jiva is having a constitutional position, but the path or the so-called stage of the process that is driving him till the shower of the mercy called the transcendental realization does not fall upon him, even though he's trying. So what will be the condition of such a fallen soul? So Arjun was asking the question, and Krishna has been so so we say that the position of the jiva is there, but the position of the endeavor till fructification is not there. So the idea is very important that arises in the form of a question, because Arjun cannot imagine what will be the achievement of such a yogi. And Krishna encourages those who are doing good or on the path of progressive life, whether he is Ashtanga yogi, Hatha yogi, what yogi, karma yogi, jnana yogi, all different kinds of endeavors that are employed for connection with the supreme absolute truth, whether personal, impersonal, localized, doesn't matter. Those who are striving on the path, but yet because they have to come out from the material conception of life, their destination would be very difficult to estimate, in the sense that whether they will be able to achieve that destination or not. So, due to the reason obvious that such practice is required in the material platform, and the result has to be perfection. But instead of perfection, the subtle material nature of the Maya makes him a victim and could not fulfill the progress in the perfection in such processes that he has accepted for uplifting himself. So such people are obviously going to remain in the material platform. But what about their achievement, whether it has some tangible benefit or not? And Krishna says, yes, they have. But because all the processes are not transcendental so far in their endeavor, they will take time, but their next birth will be in the pious or Shachinam Shimatam Gehe Yogo Prashta Vijayate, and Prapya Punyakritam, he receives another opportunity in the material birth, but with those who have been in the Brahminical and aristocratic family, and they get opportunity to make further progress, because these are progressive aspect of human form of life. So naturally such people are coming back as human, but in a better situation, so they can make tangible progress in the pursuit of the previous birth. Okay, so Krishna also says that when they receive such birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. So the point here that Arjun was making, was for the different kinds of yogis or perfectionists that they have not yet, for the most part, transcendental realization of Krishna consciousness, which is the direct method. So they are in the pious, but more of goodness will give them more knowledgeability and more so the quite interesting that we have Haribol, sorry, the Wi-Fi disturbance is there. Okay. So anyway, the point is well taken, that tatratam buddhi sanyogam labate pūrvābhyāsena yatate cha tato bhuya saṁśuddha kurunandana. So this one, that buddhi sanyogam pūrvābhyāsena has been indicated, and it is now in that reference Krishna is explaining in text number 44. What does it mean then? That pūrvābhyāsena tenaiva hriyate avaśo saha jijñāsur api yogasya śabda-brahmātivartate. Synonyms. Purva means previous, abhyasena by practice, tena by that, eva, certainly, hriyate is attracted, he surely, avaśo, automatically, uh, uh, then eva means certainly, automatically, also, Vedavyasapriya avaśo, api means also, saha he, jijñāsur, inquisitive api, even yogasya, about yoga, śabda-brahmā, ritualistic principles of scriptures, and ativartate, transcends. Now, the translation is, by the virtue of divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So, the answer that Krishna gives about buddhi yogam paurdehikam, so it becomes like pūrvābhyāsena. So that was what he gained as the study in his previous life is being remembered to give him a promotion towards the transcendental nature of his inquisitiveness. So by the virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Means such a person is entering in this life for the transcendental nature or atmosphere that shows the perfection or the perfection of yoga to know the self and connect oneself to the Supreme is not yet, set, but he becomes liberated. Yoga, śabda-brahmātivartate means stands always above, means he crosses, he bypasses the ritualistic principles of the scriptures, and he is exposed to the transcendental nature of the Shabda-Brahman means of the scripture or the conclusion of either yoga process, jnana yoga, karma yoga, dhyana yoga. But all these kinds of yogas are given opportunity to be perfected. But the connection to karma jnana yoga is not very well defined. śabda-brahmātivartate. Brahmātivartate means ritualistic principles are transcended. One may become proficient in the process, but perfection will become transcendental, means up to the liberation point only, not beyond the liberation. All right. So let's hear. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, advanced yogis are not very much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. That is underlined as highest yoga perfection. That means bhakti yoga is also applicable. It's one of the kind of yoga, but it is the absolute path. which others are not getting. So they get up to the liberation, only. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33rd chapter, 7th verse, such a disregard of the Vedic rituals of the advanced transcendentalist is explained as follows. Aho bat swapachato garyan yad jihvagre vartate namatabhyam te tapaste juhu shušnor arya brahmanuchur nama grananti ete. Oh my Lord, persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born of three daughters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. So, here is the explanation given that all these different kinds of austerities are performed by certain yogis, the sacrifices by the yogic process, bathed in all sacred places, purified by going to all different tirthas, and finish all scriptural studies. So the Vedas that lead one to the transcendental process. So, but the one who chants the holy name of the Lord, regardless of his birth in the family of dog eaters, they are super or supreme on the top of the list of all other practitioners. The famous example, this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Haridas Thakur as one of his most important disciples. Although Thakur Haridas happened to take birth in a Muslim family, he was elevated to the post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya due to his rigidly attended principles of chanting 300,000 names of the Lord daily. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And because he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, it is understood that in his previous life he must have passed through all ritualistic methods of Vedas, known as śabda-brahmā, that who realize on the words or the shabda of the Vedas. So that is śabda-brahmā. Unless therefore one is purified, one cannot take to the principles of consciousness, Krishna consciousness, or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, Krishna, Hare Krishna. So that is now text number 45. Prayatnād yogī saṁśuddha-kilbiṣaḥ aneka-janma-saṁsiddhas tato yāti parāṁ gatim. Prayatnād, by rigid practice, yatamānas, endeavoring to, and yogi, such transcendentalists, saṁśuddha means washed off, kilbiṣaḥ, of all those sins, aneka, after many, many janma births, saṁsiddhi, having achieved perfection, tato, thereafter, yāti, attain, parāṁ, the highest gatim, destination. And when the yogi engages himself in the sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. So a person born in particular righteous, aristocratic, or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable condition for executing yoga practices. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished task, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contamination. When he is finally free from all contaminations, he attains the supreme perfection, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being freed of all contaminations. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 28th verse. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam tradavrataha. After many, many births of executing pious activities, when one is completely freed from all contaminations and from all illusory dualities, one becomes engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. So, this is the sum in substance that Krishna is driving, that most of the processes described, including the sadhana bhakta in devotional service, because they have to cleanse themselves through the holy name. It is also one of the yogas, but those who are other austere, jnani, the karmi, and perfectionists this way or that way, they have to ultimately come to take the transcendental process of chanting of Hare Krishna or developing Krishna consciousness directly, or giving up all other methods and just take shelter of the holy name utterly. This is the premise. So, in this series of different kinds of transcendentalists, even a neophyte devotee is also included. So we will talk about that. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitan Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Devotees do not know any other process than Bhakti Yoga, starting from chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's for sure. So, to understand, there are different kinds of people who want to elevate themselves towards the path of even religiosity through karma, jnana, dhyana, and as well as then ultimately transcend to make them liberated. So these processes are not much familiar, or they are not under such extreme need for a devotee to go through. Therefore, they are not familiar. But there are different kinds of transcendentalists who are sincerely endeavoring to elevate themselves from the gross material world, and a human form of life is, giving them the opportunity to pursue. But because they may have to come through many births, you know, the a question of perfection in this human form of life, it is expressed as Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid datit siddhayet yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattatah bahunam janmanam ante jnanamam mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. So these are punyashali jivatma, and they try to make their life perfect, but through the material means, and they have virtually no direct access to know the transcendental truth of the spiritual nature of Lord Shri Krishna. You know, hardly anyone knows him. And those who are knowing him, hardly anyone surrenders to him. So this is the dilemma. And they are sincerely trying. Even with the worshipper of demigods also trying to make their life perfect. So there are varieties of endeavors selected by the individual human being. And what to speak of the other denominations? They are also trying to adhere to rules and regulations and to make their life perfect. Religion is means to connect with Krishna, but some are trying to achieve something materially, superiority through a religious process. Others also do material superiority through their austerities. Some are excellent work or philanthropists. They are there, but they have also some kind of theistic background. There are varieties of people, but out of thousands of such endeavoring, hardly anyone knows the supreme absolute truth, Lord Shri Krishna. So what to speak of surrender process? So this progressive march towards the perfection is going on. They may be called all fortunate soul because they are given other opportunities after opportunity to continue their perfection. That's not a big deal. But generally, all these people, the one who is engaged in direct devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by absolute conveyance and about the absolute truth, then of course he becomes the highest of all practitioners. Why? Because this is what is said, that everybody is given opportunity to make their life perfect, but because everybody has a different approach for perfection, and they may not achieve the say 100% perfection, they may have few, because every living entity has a different kind of desires. And to accommodate those desires, Krishna has allowed them to fulfill their desires. The opportunities are given to them. But still, because it is not directly connected with Lord Shri Krishna, naturally, one is not able to come on the the royal road of Rajvidya, that is Bhakti Yoga. Even those who are neophytes, they may fall off. They may fall off from the path of transcendence because even the paurudehikam opportunity is not being utilized. Buddhi Sanyogam is not utilized, and he becomes victim of the modes of material nature. Narad Muni says that those who are path of transcendence, the direct devotional service, if they fall off, there is nothing inauspicious for them. Why? Because they are also one of the transcendentalists, and they are given better opportunity, better facility to advance where they have left off. Now, this is a distinction for the Bhakti Yogi, that he may have to take another birth, but there is no diminution. Nahi tato durgatim nagacchati. So, Narad Muni is giving the verdict there. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan apakvo patit tato yadi ko va abhadra abhut amushyakim kvartho apto abhajatam swadharmataha. Dharma is also having different levels. Some are engaging the logic in their dharma. Some are engaging the scriptures, different scriptures, this different dharma, a path of perfection. But at least they claim they may achieve or not, it's another story. But then there are other people also, that those who are entering into the aspects of impersonal discipline, and the devotees are of personal discipline, and they engage in Bhakti Yoga. So there are varieties of opportunities, and Krishna, at least on the initial stages, everybody is, treated equally, but especially the up to the neophyte, there is no, one has to keep on rising and rising. But the neophytes have opportunities to associate with the advanced devotees, to again become more confirmed and steady in the yoga sadhana, and soon he will become situated. Even however fallen one from the path of such perfection, Krishna does not regret anything. Rather, he removes our regret, that do not worry about him. But do not deride him either. Because he has entered the highest path, you should consider him to be a devotee, however fallen. Apiche suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhat sadhureva hi sammantavya samyak vyavasoti saha. He has developed, the most important vision to see the truth by becoming indifferent between the material good and bad. So, samyak vyavasthiti is the situation which is very important qualification that is achieved in a devotee's life. Those who are progressing devotee, we have to understand that samyak vyavasthiti is there. And Soon he will become righteous. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma swasachyamni magacchati kaunte prati janihi name bhakta pranashati. But Krishna doesn't tell such thing of anything about worrying about the fallen on the path of other methods. Krishna says, well, most of them, they have to begin from the start again, all over, But pūrvābhyāsena will be there. Some opportunity to those people, they will be there and they will be given opportunity in the next life so they can get better facility to fulfill their pursuit. But many births, that progress is slow. While stage-wise and slow progress, will put up always a question mark whether there is a tangible gain or not. And while for devotee, whatever performance of devotional service will remain intact without a loss for the next life, he starts wherever he has left over. So naturally, the speedy recovery towards Krishna consciousness becomes a very, reasonable for him to stand out first, because a devotee is always given a better opportunity because he has pūrvābhyāsena devotional service rendered. Others have not entered into devotional service. So whatever their pūrvābhyāsana is there, it is simply the struggle within the material world only. But a devotee does not have to struggle to start from the scratch. That is the beauty. So those who have immature in the progressive aspect of devotional service, and if they fall down by some previous habit, accidental or deliberate, it doesn't matter. There is nothing to regret about him, because sadhu, jivova, marova, and both the opportunities will be there to continue his sadhana. When somebody commits a crime, he considers himself to be dead, that, he has to do all over again. But for a devotee, within this lifetime, he can come back. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Kshipram means immediately. So he doesn't have to even wait for the next birth and remember his pūrvābhyāsana. Of course, he is given opportunity. That rest assured, if he is not able to complete the perfection, even after fall down, the leftover life is there. And yet, we can see that a fallen devotee, a jamil, has been given opportunity towards the fag end of his life to complete the sadhana. And he went back home to Vaikuntha. So the perfection of all the paths is in the Krishna consciousness. The path of Krishna consciousness is very important because Krishna is the ultimate, and because he is the cause of all causes, he remains the absolute receiver of our attention and services, for which we are endeavoring in all different ways. So Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead, who is directly or indirectly also giving the opportunity. We do not criticize impersonalist unnecessary, because most of them are Mayavadis or atheists, but impersonalist is sincerely trying to achieve the śabda-brahman. Here the word śabda-brahman is utilized to indicate that ritualistic principles of scriptures is śabda-brahman. But shabda is also transcendental. Not every shabda is transcendental. śabda-brahmātivartate, the śabda-brahma ativarte. So there is ativartate. There is also somewhere, probably in the morning, that word came that ati means more or the most. That is just like the speed. Ati means higher and higher. Ativartate means the Shabda Brahman is giving the boost to the process. But Shabda Brahman depends upon the other Vedic studies which are filled with three modes of material nature. They are not Shabda Brahman. The transcendental nature, that's why Upanishads are acting on the Shabda Brahman aspect, not the material aspect. The Brahman is the word which indicates the sum total of both spiritual and material energies. And because we are Brahman embedded in the material nature, but the liberation of the material from the material nature, the Brahman should be realized of the spiritual nature. So Brahman indicates spiritual, but because even though we are spiritual, but we are totally engaged into the material. So Shabda Brahman is the medium to hear. But the direct Shabda Brahman, one which is having no covering of three modes of material nature, that is transcendental Shabda Brahman is understood, and the devotees use that transcendental Shabda Brahman, which is known different from the Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and worship him. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the transcendental Shabda Brahman. All right. While the Gayatri Om Bhūr-bhuvah Swaha, which indicates the three modes of material nature and upper, middle, and lower planetary system, and the sun, these are all having the effect of material modes because material nature is there. And even though within this material nature, we can approach Om is transcendental Shabda Brahman, but the other explanation is ritualistic. The meaning that Srila Prabhupada has told about this Gayatri, that Om refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. It's an indicative name, just like a pronoun from Mr. Phalana Phalana. like that. Some name is a Mr. So Mr. becomes the common name like that. So Om, Tat and Sat, these three words are of Shabda Brahman. They were applied to indicate the ultimate address to Lord Shri Krishna. Om is used while performing yajna. Tat is used in the process of the charity, and Sat for austerity. Because these were the three means. They are purifying. Om Tat Siddhiti Nirdesho Brahmanastita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains this. So, and therefore, the Shabda Brahman is understood with which reference is it. And transcending means ativartate is also the word is used for transcend. Ativartate. Shabda Brahma ativartate means transcends. So this is important. When devotee is practicing the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and serving the holy name, alone qualifies him to transcend. While the other processes, karma jnana, dhyana, etc., the yoga so-called practices, they are distant method to actually connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they were meritorious in those ages. But the holy name, we directly received. So therefore, because the process is perfect, this process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the most effective methodology and the best of all other yoga or practices trying to connect with the Supreme. This will connect without any hindrance directly. So a devotee utilizes this opportunity and therefore Krishna encourages him as the first class yogi. Right? So that it will be declared by Lord Shri Krishna in the next verse or verse after that. So, therefore, out of all yogis, advanced yogis are not much attracted to the rituals of scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness. Yoga principles are ultimately coming in dhyan, the dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Otherwise, the previous five are physical, ritualistic processes. So, dhyan, dharana, and samadhi is directly available through chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I remember. In dhyan, you remember, you meditate. So, the conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is dharana, and then meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is dhyan. Naturally, devotee would come at par in samadhi. Dhi means by intelligent observation of the Shabda Brahman and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unified and are present face to face between the chanter and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They come face to face. This is the perfection of bhakti yoga simply by remembering, chanting, and hearing processes. The śabda-brahmātivartate. Ativartate means transient, otherwise it's a slow process for other types of yogas. So even the example in Srimad Bhagavatam, which has been cited in the third canto, 33rd chapter, 7th verse, is that ahobat swapachato garyan. Swapachat means a chandal, a dog eater. That how wonderful it is that even a dog eater, garyan, means the topmost in yoga system. Yajjivagre vartate namatubhyam. Simply because on his tip of the tongue, his holy name is, your holy name, my dear Lord, is always present. Vartate means present. Te pas tapas, te pustapas, those people like Chandals, they have already, understood to have performed austerities in their previous life. Te juhuvuhu sushnur arya, and they became the righteous people, the most civilized, most perfected beings, those who Brahmanachur Nam Grananti Te. So, oh my Lord, persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in the family of dog eaters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all the scriptural studies. So they take up the conclusive method of chanting Hare Krishna to go back to Godhead, the perfection of all life. So even Haridas Thakur's example is very well known, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recognized that there are no impediments of previous life or life in a lower family, but anyone who can chant can become perfect, because the holy name made them perfect. Therefore, such perfect people must know the glorification of the holy name. And that was the case with Haridas Thakur, and we understand that he is our Namacharya. Whatever he has spoken by realization of the mercy that he received through realization of Lord Shri Krishna, that he could explain with perfection. Perfection means manasa, vacha, and karma. In all three phases, he has perfected. Karmana means behavior. Vacha means the language or the speaking ability. And mind. Mind was at such a state of humility that it will never disturb the resolve of Haridas Thakur. So, in this way, we can understand that a devotee's position out of all yogis is the best, and that is the verdict of Shri Krishna, and best advice to become such a yogi, that will come in the forthcoming verses. So, anybody has any question or comments? Hello.
Hare Krishna Girimaj. Anybody has any comments or questions, please raise your hand or unmute or write on the chat. So Guru Maharaj, there are kind of two things happening for someone who fails. They get birth in a good family, which gives them an opportunity, but also they are naturally attracted to their previous yogic principles.
Right.
So one thing is training and one thing is a natural attraction.
Suppose they get poor families and again miserable condition, probably they will retire faster and they will surrender. Because in Kali Yuga, Krishna has empowered Srila Prabhupada to create such facility to give shelter to such people.
Yes.
Even those who are materially inquisitive, Krishna has become like a desire tree. How many different kinds of resources we have the devotees ready to take up Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was the master.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, he was.
And he made all of us fortunate. Fortune is received by the people who must have done some meritorious activity and came across.
So that would be like Haridas Thakur, who was born in a Muslim family, but he
Yes,
automatically
we should all consider lower than Haridas Thakur. Because Haridas Thakur took up the perfection and he was not very old and invalid, but he retired and asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he wants to leave the body, chanting.
Okay, yes.
So the other things are trivial. Do you think Haridas must have performed previous inglorious activities that he was to be beaten up at 22 marketplaces? No.
No.
But yet,
nobody's ever mentioned previous life, have they?
Right. Yeah. Apparently, somebody will look at this that, oh my God, he must have done some impious activities. No.
Yeah. No.
If he is physically punished, but the most amazing thing that he did not die of punishment.
Yes.
So the spirit soul is the devotee and he exists forever. Where's the question of death?
So in the previous verse, Prabhupada gives the example of Jad Bharat. So that's a similar example as well.
Yes.
When he came as Jad Bharat.
Yeah.
He was born in a Brahmana family, but it wasn't because he was born in a Brahmana family that he came back to Krishna consciousness.
No, he decided himself. Pūrvābhyāsena. And Pūrvābhyāsena was in the body of a deer. He never forgot. So Pūrvābhyāsena means the life of Jad Bharat. I mean, Bharat himself, Bharat Maharaj, the first life.
Yes, correct.
He did not get the opportunity in the birth of a deer, but nonetheless it was intact, and he got the opportunity in the Brahman family. And how much ostracized he had to go through. His elder brothers were completely, envious of him. He mistreated them. I mean, he was mistreated by them. But regardless, the resolve is very important. When are you making a resolve? Many a times we tell our disciples, Prabhu, come on, make it fast. When are you going to retire? When are you going to make a resolve?
Yes.
Don't get entangled more and more. Liberate yourself. Chant Hare Krishna, preach Jare Kaha Tare Kaha, Krishna Upadesh. So like that.
Very much. So that means that the pūrvābhyāsena is more important than the actual birth we get.
Right. Pūrvābhyāsena is meritorious activity towards devotional service. Agyasukruti. Because it is not known to him, but it is preserved within the mind.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else have any questions? It looks like no one else has got questions, Gurumaj.
All right. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gurumaj. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.